Carly Rae Jepsen, back with a new record. What's it called again?
The Loneliest Time? That was a weird... I don't know why my voice cracked.
The Loneliest Time. I have a whole page of notes on this thing, so let's dive right in. It just came out the other day. I think I've listened to it twice. How many times have you heard it now?
Yeah, twice.
Twice, yeah.
And I had heard the singles beforehand, too.
That's right. We talked about Beach House when it came out, and that's actually the song that I have the least to say about. And I actually didn't hear the one with Rufus Wainwright when it came out.
Yeah.
I just heard it when I took in the full album. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's dive right into it. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we're just talking music like we always do. So right off the bat, Surrender My Heart. What do you think of that one?
I really like this one.
Me too.
This is a super great pop song. It's like it comes in kind of more low key, and then it like really gets going.
Yeah.
It's got that Phil Collins-y type
Yes.
of drums, which I know you're going to want to talk about, even though you didn't tell me beforehand.
I'm impressed. Yeah. It came on. My top record of 2017 was American Dream by LCD Sound System. And believe it or not, this totally reminded me of that in its usage of just like highly effective, tasteful synth bass notes. You know, in the verses, we get a really soft 2-note thing, da da, or whatever the 2 notes are. I forget.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And then it just like slightly elevates that in the chorus with like a different synth patch, but it's just really, really effective. And I was surprised to hear such like a low key, slow build opener. Mm-hmm. And especially one where she's kind of singing a little more raw, unprocessed, a little softer, a little more vulnerable of a track to start off the album.
Yeah, I think that's something people kind of have come to want from her. And actually something I think is lacking in the album as a whole.
Okay.
Which makes this kind of one of the more standout tracks to me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because from here on, I am kind of listening to the production and the interesting changes and dynamics more than I'm really engaged by the lyrics themselves or vocal performance. Although I do think it's a solid vocal performance. That leads right into Joshua Tree, where she's already singing different. It's a little more processed, and she's just putting on a little something different on that. And I'm not super familiar with her catalog. So jumping into this one, it was really cool to like hear 2 different voices right off the bat. Yeah.
I've listened to like a couple of her albums a couple of times, because kind of similar where I just, and it's been a while. So I kind of generally know her, but I'm not super familiar with the catalog. I thought this one was great as well. It's kind of like got like a dance house nod in it, though it doesn't go like full on like club song.
Yeah, I wrote down that it reeks of like old school remixes, 90s, early 2000s production techniques from remixes, especially in the verses where you got like the pitched vocal samples that are like reverbed and repeat. It's like a total throwback thing, which is fitting because this song has like record crackle that starts it, and it kind of goes, at least throughout the first bit of the song, there's this like record crackle in the back. So it almost comes off as one of those 12-inch remixes that like DJs would have to, lug all their records to the DJ gig and have all their remixes on these big 12-inch records. And then I wrote down that it's short.
A lot of the songs on this album are really short, and the ones I want to be longer are short.
Yeah, they all are short, huh?
There's a lot of like under 3-minute songs on here.
Yeah, like 2:20, 2:30. Mm-hmm. It was
There's
surprising.
one that was 2:16. I can't remember which one. One of my
Wow.
favorite ones, I think, was
It was 2:16. Wow.
maybe it was this one actually.
Yeah, it was enough to, I wasn't sitting staring at the GIF loop on Spotify, like watching the song. But it was enough to like, I'm just like taking it in and being like, oh, it's over. On to the next one. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to talk about these new as in the past few years, style of choruses that I've been hearing more of lately. Featured in this song, Joshua Tree, this chorus that everything else goes away, and then there's just like a really clean bass and percussion driven hook. It's really cool. I've been hearing it a lot lately. That Ava Max song we talked about a while ago.
$1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
Okay.
That's just one of a lot of examples lately where like there's a lot going on the verse. Now we stop for a moment, and then what comes in is just like clearer drums, clearer bass, vocals. That's it. That's the chorus. That's the hook. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's elaborated upon in the second chorus, but at least for the first one, it's just that. And I think as a listener, it really makes you like, if you've sort of started to drift, you're thinking about like the dishes you're doing or whatever, like it pulls you right back in.
Yeah, it's nice to have those changes within a song. I think another thing that like a lot of this album is lacking.
Changes in dynamic?
Just like a chorus that stands out from
the
verses in that way as the album goes on.
I agree to an extent,
right,
on the kind of the back half of the record, because I have all these notes for the front half, and then as it gets kind of after So Nice, I kind of stop even having notes because it's maybe fizzling out. But let's not get negative yet, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get into that later in a few minutes. This episode won't be that long, but
yeah, I mean, that's what I got to say right here. Talk to yourself. Talk to yourself.
Talking to yourself.
Talking to yourself.
This was the last single.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware that it was even a single. It's a good single choice.
It's funny because I remember, Loneliest Time was a single right before the album came out. So it's not the last one.
Okay, gotcha.
But doesn't matter. I listened to this once when it came out as a single, and I remember being like, yeah, it's good. Never felt the urge to listen to it again. And then listening to the album, I really like it. I think it's super good. Maybe not as, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a standout. I mean, I think that this first run of like 4 or 5 songs really do stand out. And Beach House to me kind of breaks the track listing in half, kind of. It's like all the songs before Beach House I'm like really into. I have a lot of notes. After Beach House, it sort of starts to dip a little bit. But Talking to Yourself, I did really like. Although, does that chorus not kind of sound like when I think about you, I touch myself?
Yeah, I get that song stuck in my head after I hear this song.
Yeah, which is fine.
It's, totally fine. There's a limited amount of melodies that exist in the world.
Yeah.
But even like the production of it, is kind of in a similar. I also thought like the pitched down little like, there's certain parts with like the pitched down backing or whatever.
Oh, wait, okay. I had my notes mixed up. That's in this song, not Joshua Tree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that felt like those old remix, like, those like pitched down vocals that would sort of like echo what she said. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Those two flow together really well, I thought. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, all this is sort of like the first part of the album is more like 80s pop.
Totally, which is, I guess, coming off of... not the last record, but the massive one, Emotion. I guess was sort of her brand. So there has to be a little bit of that, and clearly she's very good at it.
Yeah, I think the choruses on these songs are all really great and really catchy. And like you were talking about, it's like the verses and the choruses play off of each other and have sort of a conversation.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, okay, well, then it changes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot going on here in this first run of songs, and I think the album is sequenced pretty well until kind of the last few. Going into Far Away, well, first of all, right when it starts, right when you get that percussion, I'm like, is this Africa?
Yeah.
But I mean, immediately it doesn't sound like Africa. I'm just talking like first 5 seconds. I'm like, hold on. But then other stuff comes in. Oh, actually, talking to yourself, we got synth guitar. This like synthy guitar. It's like, it's clearly not a guitar performance because it's doing like insane, like, you know, you can tell it's like maybe a MIDI mapped synth guitar or something like that. Or maybe it's patched from like half performance. I don't know who's doing that. There's a lot of album credits, a lot. So I don't know who's doing what here. I don't know who's taking the reins on production. There's a lot of names, but clearly she can put together a really great group of people to make a hard-hitting song that ends with synth guitar.
Yeah. Any of the like 80s stuff like that, I think is done really well. It doesn't feel derivative. It feels fresh and fun.
Totally.
And just, it seems very natural for her.
All right, now back to Far Away. So this one, I like didn't have much to say.
Me either.
I was kind of like, okay, it's interesting that there's like this more organic production or percussion going on, more organic percussion. Maybe a real raw drum performance with stuff put on top of it. But then it hooks me back in right at the 11th hour, 2:12. The timestamp is 2:12. You got these like distant reversed synth patches and like these really like high-pitched weird things going on in the background that are just like, I don't think I've ever done a chef's kiss on this channel. Oh. I'm not gonna, but they are kind of chef's kiss, you know? It's just like perfectly tasteful. It made me really like the song. And then it has a really high pad. The pad is like a really, just kind of a soft ambient synth. A really high pad that like brings us back into the last chorus. And I just thought it was really cool that, you know, that song kind of won me over after 90% of it was over.
Yeah, I was kind of checked out by the time the end came along.
Yeah.
My only comment is that the drums are great.
It is really cool drums. Yeah. More and more pop artists bringing back like some real tasteful, intricate drum performances. I mean, I know this isn't an Antonoff record, but I do think he has some to do with that. Random Access Memories is still kind of resonating out in the pop world as well. But you're just hearing more of that lately, and it's cool. So moving on from Far Away, got Sideways.
I honestly I have a kind of a split mind about this one because it didn't catch me super strongly, but I do feel like this is a song that I could really get into over time. I think as someone who likes to sing along to songs, especially, I think this would be a fun one. Like if I'm in my car or whatever, put this on and like sing to it type of it. Sometimes it's like that really brings a song to being something I'm excited to listen to.
Okay, sure.
You know what I mean?
That's interesting because I don't ever sing along to music. And so that's a totally different way of looking at it. 'Cause for me, this song kind of blew right by me. And I just like didn't have much interest in it. But that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what like makes me feel that way about it. There's plenty of songs on here that don't really grab me, and I'm like, I don't want to come back to it. But there's just the way that certain songs are sung is just fun to do.
So Beach House, we can kind of blow by because we have a whole video about that. I'll just say that I find it a little novelty on this album. It's not one I'm into. I wasn't too into it when it came out, and I understand that it's a very fun song, and I can sort of appreciate it being a fun song, but I don't really have any thoughts on it past that.
This is a very divisive song. I love it. I think it's super fun. I think it's different. I think it's one of my favorite choruses of the year.
Really?
Yeah, I love the
Favorite
chorus.
choruses of the year?
Yeah, I love the chorus. I don't know, and she's doing something really different vocally on here. I know it's kind of silly, but I also love, da, 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 da. I just like think the way she sings it is, it's just interesting. And I think it's what a lot of the rest of the album after this is lacking, is something just fun like that too.
It did need the fun. So I totally understand it being in there, because you're right. You can't not have it, and then we'd be sitting here saying, the album kind of lacks like a fun summer.
It's funny too, because that's like, if you go on Spotify, it's still her profile picture is like her in the beach hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the cover of the album is like just so boring to me.
Oh, it's an album? Sorry, I thought it was a cookbook.
Yeah, and it's got that brown. It's brown. Like, I just don't want my pop album cover to be brown, personally.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand the cover. I don't really use the term iconic here on this channel, but Emotion, that's a pretty great cover, and was just simple, punchy, looks like how the record feels, and you just like you know it from a million miles away. Emotion. This cover, yeah, that is boring. Boring
I also
cover.
think Dedicated has like my favorite of her album covers.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's cool. It's like a Kylie Minogue record cover or something.
And yeah, and then like
the alternate, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very simple, minimal, but fun. And that's the one I remember when I think of her, like that album cover.
Maybe it's because I worked at a record store when Emotion came out, and we had 1 million copies, and we also had like a big cardboard, thing. Okay, we're good. I ran out of battery in my camera. Okay, yes. So yeah, we had this big like standy thing in the record store, but it was
what
like
you associate with it.
Yeah, and this one, yeah, it's boring. It also kind of, is it just me, or does it look like a little like Happier Than Ever?
That's my immediate thought the first time I saw it. I was like, well, this is just, basically the Billie Eilish cover with like some food.
And I thought that cover was,
I wasn't a fan of that one.
Yeah, it's better, but especially coming off of Billie's first record, like that cover already seemed boring, and now this is like a more boring version of that boring cover. Anyway, let's get off the record cover. So moving into the back half of this thing, Ben's has my favorite instrumental.
The guitar.
Just all the instruments.
I love that like guitar. I don't know if it's like a actual guitar or whatever in the beginning.
It's subtle. Everything's subtle. I'm not exactly sure what's being used, but there's definitely these just like really soft pulsing synths going on. They're kind of distant.
Yeah. And so that instrumental in the beginning, I was like, because I had listened to it like on earbuds when I was running the first time, and then better headphones this time. And I was like, oh man, that's super cool. And then it didn't really come back in.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, it was like really cool. It's called Benz. So the first thing I think it was like the Benz by Radiohead is like, it's kind of a weird, that's what people are going to think of. It's like, oh, it actually has this really cool, like kind of weird instrumental. And then it kind of falls off for me.
Yeah. It's, these background pads are really cool. It's like, that one's tough because everything I like about this song and, everything that makes it my favorite is all the stuff going on in the background. I actually don't really even remember the top line really well. Glossary section top line is like the lead vocal hook. So that's an interesting one because, I'm looking at the track listing here, I see Ben's. I remember all that cool instrumental stuff, the cool production. I don't really remember what the hook sounds like that much, despite listening to it twice, most recently, kind of right before we recorded.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I guess is the benefit of being a reaction channel instead, where you're just watching us go like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll switch to that, and then we never forget any parts.
I know. Well, there's like benefit to like reflecting on something afterwards.
That's
too.
what I want this channel to be. You know, maybe we'll like react to something at some point and give it a shot. But I like this. I like sitting down, taking it in a few times, taking notes, thinking about the record in the discography as a whole, the context, you know.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, like Western Wind, I actually thought also had great percussion, just like Far Away. But I was a little bored by it in the same way that I was bored by like Solar Power. And it almost feels a little similar.
This was the first single, like way before she announced her album. People were, for a long time, they were like, is this a one-off? And then it was on the record and people were kind of confused. I remember listening to it like way before we even moved here.
Wait.
Yeah.
So it was before Beach House?
Way before.
What is with that lately? I think we're going to make a video about this, but like, I'm not understanding that whole thing. To bring it back to...
Okay, it came out in May, by the way.
In May?
In May. And look at the cover art. It's like...
Wow, I wonder if
folky looking. So when I actually forgot this song completely, and like I think even when we talk about Beach House, I was like, yeah, that was kind of a folky song. It's not. That's just like the only thing I remember about it was the cover art.
The folky cover art. Interesting. I had no idea that was Wow. Yeah, I thought Beach House was the lead single. That's sort of starting to happen now. Look at Back to Happier Than Ever. It's like Therefore I Am was like way before and seemed like it was like still in the old era.
And then people are like, that'll just be a one-off, and then it ends up on the album like 6 months later or whatever.
Yeah, that keeps happening.
Yeah.
That's odd. Okay. So Nice has that really punchy percussion, and I'm noticing a trend here. I keep talking about the percussion. Again,
Great percussion.
There's a large list of people involved with this record, but man, great production. I don't know who's drumming on what, but that was great. Not Into the Laws. I don't know who's doing that, but it's not her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really remember. This is the part of the album where I'm just...
Well, clearly I agree with you because that's my last note.
Yeah, I think, what did I say? I said, I'm getting tired of the vocal effect.
Yeah, maybe. It could be an effect. I just thought it wasn't her doing these la la la's.
But the whole, like, a lot of these songs have a very similar effect to her voice.
What do you mean? Is it more of a processing effect?
Like a processing, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Just like a modern vocal processing.
Yeah. So, and I don't know why, like, I just don't think it fits on every song. And I think it makes it less impactful when it's on, not every song, but when it's on a lot of them.
No. Yeah. And I know what you mean. And we're not saying that it's like auto-tuned or anything. She can sing amazingly. Just that it's like, it is a heavily processed vocal a lot of the time, which sort of makes that opener, Surrender My Heart, stand out because it's not really a much of a processed vocal. So here's my main big note that's circled at the bottom of the page. So like, I think that the Rufus Wainwright song should have been a one-off.
Kind of like the Lewis of Man one that she did? Yes.
It should have been a one-off. And you end this record on Go Find Yourself or whatever, which I think would make that song better in context, and then cut like 3 or 4 that don't need to be there.
Well, are you talking about the bonus tracks?
Those two.
Included?
Those gone too.
Are not needed. They're just completely derivative of what else is on the back half of the album. I'm probably going to I know people like Anxious, so I'm probably going to get really...
Yeah.
People are not going to agree.
But I think that's the thing is maybe we would like Anxious more if it was maybe put out as an EP in a couple months or something. But this trend of like stretching out a Spotify release for as long as possible, like doing the extended edition, which, by the way, is all about like listener retention, you know? And that's why you don't get like an EP later. You just get it tacked on to the existing entry in
This
Spotify.
brings it to like those 3 songs. It's like 54 minutes, and all these songs, you know, a lot of the album songs are so short. I'm not sure how short it would have been.
Yeah, if you end it at Go Find Yourself or whatever, then you lose the loneliest time and all the bonus tracks, and I think the whole record would be better for it.
Right.
You know, there's so much of, even if you're a fan of all those songs, there's such a thing as too much of a good thing. So I would leave them wanting more instead of fizzling it out. But
unless you have like some really cool stuff, instead it's like here's like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 or 6 songs that are kind of just all the same.
Yeah.
And the lyrics aren't great. And I had a specific note that So Nice, the lyrics were boring to me. And then Bad Thing Twice. Her singing style, she's such an amazing vocalist. And she's not really stretching it. Beyond like Beach House, where she's doing some fun things, she's kind of just like doing this very easygoing. And the songs don't really like, she doesn't really belt on this album, and she can.
Yeah, it's definitely a more reserved performance. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about the vocal performance because it's just it's good. It's well produced, maybe a little overly processed, but yeah, it's not like, this isn't like a vocal showcase type record, which I think she has had before.
Right.
So that's probably fine. But is it a hit against this album? If you're taking this album in on its own, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing a more restrained type of a vocal, but when it's just becomes the same each song, then what's the point of doing it?
Yeah, just trim the fat. I think there's so much good here. There's a lot of great songs. There's good hooks. I talked enough about great production all throughout. So I think just what's hurting this record is it's a little long in the tooth, as they say.
It's a little bloated.
Yeah.
It's a little, it fizzles out. It's lacking in like a concept almost.
I don't think it needs a concept.
I mean, like a concept in
like
a
a
sonic
theme.
concept almost.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I agree on that, but you know, I was paying so much more attention to like the production and stuff, and I'm hearing a lot of things that are sort of like linking it together. And there is kind of a defined palette there that seems to be really only broken by Beach House. But again, I think you kind of need that. But speaking of long in the tooth and fizzling out, we should wrap it up.
This is a long one, guys.
Yeah, we usually don't make videos this long, but there's a lot to talk about here. Do you agree with us on this this trim the fat concept? Should we lose the last few songs? Maybe end it at Go Find Yourself or whatever. That's my idea. I think that would make this album a lot better. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Why? Why
is
not?
Is the last part of the album your favorite, and do you wish the first half was gone? Like, tell us your opinions. Tell us, defend your position. We
I
love
demand you defend your position.
I just think it's really interesting because there's definitely those kind of perspectives, and it's really fun to hear things that are different from what we think.
Oh yeah, we get it on every video. That Blink-182 video we just did, most people didn't agree with us, but it was really interesting to hear their opinions.
And there's some great comments on that video too. Yeah.
There's some great comments.
There's some great ones.
I also got told I looked old as fuck.
Well, you're not 20 anymore. How old are you supposed to be on YouTube? 15?
All right. Thanks for watching. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
We'll see you next time.